Hey there, Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 273 of our BU 365-day challenge. Do one thing every day that improves us in some way. And this is our 30th day of focusing on the area this month, this segment of the life framework communication. So today we're going to talk about communication, and since we didn't cover our personal development plan yesterday, we'll cover that today, as well as what's next in the area of communication, which is partially our personal development plan. And then I'm going to share 11 phrases. Every once in a while on the internet it'll pop up 11 phrases that make you sound weak, or 13 or 15 ways to say something better, etc., or X number of ways to make a good impression. So how we say things is really, really important. And I'm going to share this because I think the nuances of it will help us to pay more attention to how we're communicating. I do several of these things. I do probably most of them. And it's a reminder to me, as well as some help to you, to stop saying the things that weaken our position or make us look like we're not as capable as we are. Because the truth is, we can figure anything out that we want to figure out. So let's do that. So first off, what is next for communication? Well, just like each of the areas we've left in the life framework, we don't want to just leave them hanging, right? We want to make sure we put something in place, some plan, some system, some routine, some habit to continue toward our long-term goals in that area and aspect of our life long after we've done this particular challenge. And we can always go back and do these 30 days again if we really need to focus on communication. Or if you're interested, let me know, and we will add elements of the different life framework areas to the next 3 months of the year. We want to really make sure we get these nailed down and are really, really comfortable with, or whatever framework you choose to use, you want to be really comfortable with the processes and the systems and the tools that you now have at your disposal to continually improve and become a better version of yourself each and every day. So again, this is the end of our 9 different focus area frameworks, and I'll surprise you tomorrow with what we're going to do next. It will probably be a surprise to me as well. But in order to come up with our personal development plan, or what's next for us in the area of communication, I like to use different frameworks, right? So the framework, the process of communicating is consider these 8 elements: source, message, channel, receiver, feedback, environment in which you're delivering the message, contact, and interference. What could interfere with the message? Those 8 areas are a way that you can structure a message or structure your communication or evaluate your communication to say, well, I'm really, really good at choosing the environment. I'm really, really good at choosing the timing. I'm really good at delivering the message, but maybe I need to improve more on understanding the receiver's perspective, whatever it might be. I like to use the SOAP framework pretty much for any challenge or any area that I want to improve right now. We've gone through that a lot of times, so I won't talk about it here. But if we want to go, we'll go through it the next 3 months as well. Focus on a certain area that you all choose that you want to go more deeply into. So you can use this up framework. So if I think about this, whenever I'm coming up with a personal development plan for anything, I try to limit myself to 3 things that I'm going to work on. So what are the 3 biggest things I want to work on in the area of communication? So for me, it's listening. I always want to be a better listener. It's book, meaning writing my next book and getting that out there. And number 3, storytelling, because I realized that I got lots of stories, but I'm not very good at sharing them and presenting them in a way that's appropriate to my audience. So that's a huge area I want to improve in. So then I come up with 3 things. You can have 3 to 5, but remember, if you use a 9-part life framework like me, that's anywhere between 27 and 45 different things that you're trying to work on simultaneously. Now, I like to think I'm a good multitasker, but 45 things are way too many for me. Even if I'm adding little bits of them to my daily routine, my daily routine would become overwhelming. So I like to come up with 3 for my personal development plan in each area, and then I pick one that I'm going to work on first. I prioritize them. So for me, prioritizing them would be storytelling, learning about storytelling and becoming a better storyteller. 2 would be listening, and 3 would be my next book, because that's not a super high priority. It's just something I want to do. So those are my 3 areas. Now, of those 3 areas, I prioritize them because I'm going to only do something and start working on number 1. So then I asked myself, and I already did this, I asked myself, okay, what's the first thing I can do, or one thing I can do right away in each of these areas? So I'm prioritizing storytelling, but it doesn't mean I'm going to totally not do anything if the opportunity arises for listening or for the book, right? If I find a cool thing that applies to either of those, I'm going to say yes to that too. So I just said, add one tool to my daily routine to improve my listening, right? So maybe I just add the affirmation to my morning routine of affirmations. I am a fantastic listener. I am an active listener. I am an engaged and involved listener. I shut my mouth and listen intently in order to understand whatever it is for me. But that's something I could do right now today. I can add that to my morning routine. It doesn't really add any more work or effort to me moving toward improving my listening skills. And then storytelling, I put, get a couple of books on storytelling and tap into my friend Eville Beckford, because she is a book summarizer, reader. She teaches reading for leadership reading, and I love her. She also does great challenges, so I've done a lot of her challenges. So I know she's an incredible resource for books on any topic that I want to dive into, but I don't have to figure out and research all the books. I can ask a trusted advisor. So I like to pick a framework. So I pick a framework, I pick 3 things, and then if I need a framework to help me identify what those things are. If we know ourselves pretty well, we know right off the bat what areas of communication we want to be or need to be better at. And it's not what other people want for us, it's what feels right and what we want to work on. Do I need to write another book? I'm sure everybody would say no, who cares? But for me, that is the right thing for me. All right, let's share these phrases and these things that we say that make us look weak, and then hop off, do your action item today. Again, what's your personal improvement plan for the area of communication? All right, number 1, does that make sense? Instead of that, we want to say, what are your thoughts, or I'd like your input on this. Number 2, maybe we should try. Now we know, I'm sure I've mentioned how I feel about the word try, but instead of saying that, instead of saying maybe, we want to say let's try, or it's a good idea to try blank, or it's a good I would say do personally in as many situations as I can instead of try. Depends. It depends who I'm talking to. Again, who's the receiver, who's the audience, whether I will use the word try or do or act, etc. Number 3, I think this would, and they suggest that you say, I believe this would, and I'm not sure about that. Again, I think it depends who you're communicating with. I know there are people that are direct and thinkers, and I would say to them, think before I would say believe. And then there's other groups of people that I would say, I believe this would blank to people. So I think, like everything else, we have to take these with a grain of salt, which happens to be our idiom for Supersize Your Business today, and determine what is right for the situation, the environment, for the receiver, etc. Number 4, I'm not positive but, or I'm not sure but, and this is to say it without the but. Hey, I'm not positive, let's take a look at this. I'm not sure about the information that we've received, let's go ahead and work on this, etc. Number 5, I just wanted to touch base. Now, we did a whole day on, I think it was in Supersize Your Business, though, not here in this group, on different ways to communicate, saying, I'm going to touch base, I'm just following up, but I'm not really telling you that you're on my follow-up schedule, my follow-up system, and I'm following up with you, and I'm staying in touch with you. We want to stay in touch with people that we want to stay in touch with, right? I want to call my mom. I want to stay in touch with my business partners, etc. And I don't need to call it touching base or staying in touch. So the point of this one was that just is a softener. We don't want to use softeners. I might be crazy, but that whole thing, don't ever say that. Or I guess we can say it depending on the audience. Number 6, needless to say, instead don't say anything. Needless to say is just a filler phrase. Just like, in my opinion. Guess what? Say nothing, because nobody wants to hear in front of, you're going to share your opinion. Most of the time, people know you're sharing your opinion without you clarifying, in my opinion, da 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 da. It just sounds kind of pompous and weak. Number 8, again, for what it's worth, you're negating what you've got to say and downgrading it by saying that, so don't say anything. Instead of saying sorry, this is a huge one for me, say excuse me. Instead of saying sorry, like I'm sorry for interrupting your conversation, say excuse me. I think excuse me has become a lost form. If you've been in a store lately, people just knock you out of the way or barge you or walk right in front of you when you're looking at something instead of saying, hey, excuse me. I can't tell you, I probably say excuse me 20 to 1 for ever receiving an excuse me in the appropriate situation. Number 10, this is kind of a longer one. X was developed to increase Y. And that's a passive voice, and we want to be more active, saying we developed X to increase Y. Again, it's kind of formulaic, but basically we want to take anything that we're saying in a passive manner and put it into an active manner. Developed is an action verb. We was developed. X was a developed is passive. So we want to change things from passive to active whenever it's appropriate, right? And finally, 11, if you know what I mean. Okay, guilty. I say, do you understand? Do you know what I mean? A lot. I think that we should take out the if for sure or say nothing. They recommend that you say nothing because if you say, if you know what I mean, you're asking a question as if for permission that they understand. I think there's better, stronger ways to add and verify that someone understands versus saying, if you know what I mean. And I will have to work on this one because I say that a lot, probably in almost every video, especially Supersize Your Business videos. And then as part of that, don't add useless words or language or puffery. If you've ever been in real estate, you know exactly what puffery is. Actually, most marketing and online marketers are professional puffers, right? They don't even know that they're puffers, but they're definitely adept at the art of puffery. So don't add unnecessary words and puffery. I will continue to say, when it comes to communication, keep it simple. The simple solution, the older I get, the more I realize the simple solution is often, if not always, the best solution because it's easier to implement, it's easier for people to understand, it's easier for people to get behind. So that is our focus on communication for the month of September. I need you to ask me any questions or anything about communication that you want to work on for the rest of the year or touch on during the rest of the year. We've got 3 months left of the year, and we're going to take your questions and answer them and make sure we build the topics and the tools and the strategies and the systems into our lives that will help make becoming the best version of ourselves automatic. That's the whole purpose of this challenge, is to do one thing every day that makes us a better version of ourselves. And it's not going to be a big, hard, complicated thing we do every day. See, a lot of the things we've done so far are just, hey, think about this, do this little tool, apply this, add this to how we're already living our life. Or just make sure you're consciously aware of something, because a lot of our life is spent on autopilot, me included. It's crazy how much of my life I'm just going through the motions and I'm autopilot, even though I think and believe I'm doing all these things to continually improve. All right, questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow for an exciting change and turn of what we're doing every day in this channel. Have an awesome day, and of course, I'll be with you tomorrow.